because she doesn't just do that for fun. They're
forever.
actual facts and supportive documents and unbelievable.
Okay, there we go.
Behind
Good
it.
sound.
So she's a true treasure. So thanks to Whitney for that. Coming up on the show, we're going to talk about Henry Kissinger. Because, wow, man, the neocons, it's like they were really crying last night. All the neocons got together and just shed a big tear last night over the death of the greatest war criminals of all time.
Would it be inappropriate to put up a poll about whether he went
up or down? Did he go to heaven or hell?
Would that be wrong? Okay.
Who knows what
it's in my head.
we should have. We should just ask the question. We should just ask the poll. Just one simple question. Where do you think Henry Kissinger is now? That's just a question. You tell us where you think he is.
In soul review.
Yeah, soul review. That's going to be a long soul review lesson. All right, we're going to get there in a second. But first, recent events have made the entire economic environment more complex, especially factors such as war and Fed rate hikes, making it difficult to predict money. We did just get information that the Fed looks like, and this is why gold
Bleeding
prices
over
are
for
surging,
too
commodity
long.
prices are surging. And I get all of these alerts thanks to my friends Elmo. But yeah, because now with Fed rate hikes possibly stopping and rate cuts perhaps coming in May of this year, in May 2024, that is really good news. That could be really good news for real estate, really good news for a lot of different things. So about the U.S. dollar dropping today on that news. Anyway, I get all those alerts thanks to our friends at Moomoo. You can set different alerts right inside the trading app. You can trade commodities. You can trade ETFs. It's not only a stock trading app, you can trade options, bonds, ETFs, all of it right there. No commission, no hidden fees. And what's best is that if you register right now, you're going to get a free SoFi stock. That's right. Up to 16 shares of stocks and a free SoFi stock. And these are all free, by the way. Moreover, what's most surprising about Moomoo is that they recently launched a rule-breaking product called Cash Sweep, which works with banks. And it offers an annualized return of 5.1%. This is one of the highest yields in the entire securities brokerage industry. No minimum threshold, no restrictions on the amount. So if you make a deposit into your account, you can store it in this Cash Sweep account and get a 5% return. So while it's sitting there, why wouldn't you take advantage of it? That's a fantastic return because your local savings account, your local bank is like what, 0.01%? That's crazy. So, Moomoo invested up to $1 million in FDI insurance for your funds as well. So you are protected, meaning your money is very safe with no risks. So I want you to check it out right now. All you need to do to try this and get the savings account set up is go to redacted.inc/Moomoo. Again, that's redacted.inc/Moomoo. You have to use that link. You'll get the 16 free stocks, including SoFi. Set up the 5% cash sweep account and start earning some annualized returns and some of that extra cash that you might have sitting there right now. So, my thanks to them for supporting the show. All right. I'm swig of water because this sickness is still kind of lingering.
Oh, I thought you were just sickened by the idea of Henry Kissinger.
Oh, I am sickened by Henry Kissinger.
I can't wait. This was something that, Clayton brings up often in our studies of the constant war with our home country wages around the world. And so when I saw this news, I was like, honey, you got to take this one. This one
no problem.
Yeah, this one is on you. So here we go.
Here we go. Well, one of the worst mass murderers in American history has died at the age of 100. Let us all bow our heads for a moment of silence. Not for him, of course. We don't want to bow our heads for him. But for the millions of people who lost their lives because of Henry Kissinger, the man Henry Kissinger, neocons falling all over themselves today trying to praise him. It's amazing to watch some of the tweet threads about it. About celebrating his life, the life of Henry Kissinger, a great diplomat, an amazing statesman. All the murderers doing just on the side. So he passed away last night at 100 years old, according to his consulting firm, which it's like he had. It's like even in his death, they managed to get the fact out there that the Kissinger consulting firm still exists. They released the information. If you want to hire someone like Henry Kissinger, well, we're still here. We release the information. If you want to learn how to warmonger around the world,
the brand lives on.
The brand lives on. Call on the Henry Kissinger and Associates consulting firm. So yes, the Henry Kissinger consulting firm released the information. Not his family, not anybody's family, but the consulting firm. Here was Sean Hannity last night, just stunned and sort of apoplectic about the death of one of his heroes.
This is Fox News Florida, a staple of global politics, stable really for so many decades. Henry Kissinger tonight, sad news, dead at the age of 100. Now, Secretary Kissinger worked under multiple administrations. He won the Nobel Peace Prize for negotiating a ceasefire in Vietnam. There's so many other accomplishments this man has had. His life background and his experience is really beyond inspiring. He was a Jewish refugee. He fled Nazi Germany with his family in 1938. He arrived in the United States. He excelled academically, graduated from Harvard, and earned an MA and PhD degrees at Harvard. Really somebody that so many look up to in so many different ways and accomplished so much.
But yeah, accomplished so much.
It's great to get a peace prize for the war that you started.
Right.
For ending the war that you
Yeah,
started.
The one that you escalated, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought exactly what I was going to say. He got a Nobel Peace Prize for a war that was a false flag. Like,
Yeah.
he started with a false flag.
Exactly. I mean, it's like being praised for putting out a fire that you started. I mean, that's exactly what it is, right? Things that you escalated. You put it out? Great. Let's give you an award for that. You're fantastic. It's like, President Bush releasing a statement this morning, fawning all over him as well. You can read this. Here is Kissinger dies. America has lost one of the most dependable and distinctive voices on foreign affairs with the passing of Henry Kissinger. I've long admired the man who fled Nazis as a young boy from a Jewish family, then fought them in the United States Army, President Bush says. The statement goes even further, and he's not done yet as he continues to move along and praise him even more. When he later became Secretary of State, his appointment as a former refugee said as much about his greatness as it did about America's greatness. He worked in the administrations of 2 presidents and counseled many more. That's right. And, by the way, we'll talk about that in a second. And he says, he continues, I'm grateful for that service and advice, but I'm most grateful for his friendship. Laura and I will miss his wisdom, his charm, and his humor. And he will always be thankful. We will always be thankful for the contributions of Henry Kissinger. Now, he normalized relations with China. That's great. Yes. He was the only person to go into communist China and then normalized relations, opened up China, and he was sort of on his own in that regard. Yes, he did that. But even a headline this morning is going beyond China to call Henry Kissinger a sex symbol. This headline, diplomatic colossus, Nobel Prize winner who stared down the Soviets and became a very unlikely sex symbol. The extraordinary legacy of Henry Kissinger, who fled the Nazis, became America's most influential Secretary of State. But can we talk about all...
Basically reads like my bio.
You stared down the Soviets,
So sexy.
became a very unlikely sex symbol.
I mean, he was
What about
Jason
the Nazis
Bourne.
part? That's the 100% on. That's me.
Right.
Yeah. He
It's like
was Jason Bourne. I think of Jason Bourne. I think they fashioned that after Henry Kissinger.
Like looking in the mirror. Yeah. You and Henry Kissinger. What were you doing?
The Jason Bourne.
Oh, yeah. But can we talk about all of the murder for a second? It's like saying Bill Cosby was a great comedian. Yeah, but what about all the raping he did? It's like saying O.J. Simpson was a great running back. Yeah, but what about all the murdering? Kissinger is responsible for unimaginable horrors. Unimaginable horrors. And in an era before 24-hour news cycles. So imagine how much worse it would have been, or we would have learned more had we had actual cameras and 4K, 4K cameras and televisions to be able to capture what he did. All around the world, the horrors that he carried out. It wasn't just in Asia, it was in Latin America. Deaths of millions of people. Can we talk about that? Can we talk about how he had reporters from CBS and the New York Times in his back pocket, even had them wiretapping the newsrooms at their respective newsrooms? He stopped doing public speeches, of course, in front of uncontrollable audiences after people continued to interrupt his speeches, reminding us that he's a war criminal. Here's an example.
Something calls for the arrest of Henry Kissinger for war crimes.
Yeah, and now all those people are making a group. and Russia is
No, I
leading
remember
that
I
charge.
don't know how many of
Like,
you guys remember that moment when Code
we
Pink
are
might have
going to
told us how
fucking
millions of
die,
people were
and
killed
we are
at his
going to
hands.
deserve
And he
it
gets called before Congress to testify because they
because
want
our
his
prime
advice.
minister
Once
is
again,
just
Senator
an
John McCain wants his
absolute
advice.
imbecile.
War criminal, warmonger. Watch Senator John McCain call these anti-war
All right.
protesters scum.
I've been a member of this committee for many years.
All I do is work.
Are you serious? You're the fucking worst.
Why are they protesting? Let's talk about Kissinger's track record calling for the total carpet bombing of Cambodia, the escalation to, perhaps end a war there, wiping out hundreds of thousands of innocent Cambodians, entire villages destroyed. He later claimed that they were unpopulated areas. Yeah, they're fields. There's nobody there. They're just unpopulated areas. And then in Chile,
We
Kissinger-
bombed the shit out of unoccupied areas just for fun.
yeah, there's
That's what
unpopulated.
it's going with.
Right, exactly.
Nobody there.
So, what good did it do us? If they're unpopulated, what's the whole point of us doing it in the first place? Then we're just gonna, bomb these areas. In Chile, Kissinger installed the violent, oppressive Pinochet dictatorship. Of course, disappeared tens of thousands of people who were executing their children, and basically sold off. This was absolutely awful. And, Sting wrote a famous song about it called They Dance Alone. I encourage all of you to listen to that song and read the lyrics if you care to listen to it. If it doesn't bring tears to your eyes, then you're not hooked up right. The wives of
You're a
these
faggot.
men in Chile were only allowed to protest by dancing alone with a picture of their husband. They couldn't speak about it publicly. If they spoke about the fact that the Pinochet government came in and stole their husband and killed them, they too would be, as Sting writes, wind up on the torture table and killed themselves. So the only thing they could do is in their quiet solitude basically dance alone with their husbands and their sons. As they were sold off, they were taken and sold off, and then many of them executed.
I broke my leg!
Cuts through you.
I broke another leg trying to fix it. God damn it.
And you just sit back from it for a
I
moment.
broke my leg,
It's
and then I broke another leg
And you
trying to
think of
fix
your own
it.
mother dancing with her invisible my hands picture of her invisible son, which is taken by this fascist government that the United States put in place, and Henry Kissinger was solely responsible in large part for doing. Kissinger aided Pakistan in slaughtering up to 3 million people in Bangladesh. Kissinger aided the Indonesian genocide against East Timor. 30,000 people killed in Argentina thanks to Kissinger. I mean, the list is endless. These are just the ones that he was a part of while he was in government, by the way. You saw there John McCain bringing him back in, like, we need some more advice on how to kill some people around the world. Let's get that Kissinger guy. He's really good at doing it. No American
I
has...
wonder if that means. I was gonna say, I wonder if that means we're gonna see an earmarked bill somewhere for the government buying Ouija boards, so governors, the generals can still consult him from the grave.
Well, no,
Yeah.
we see he's already still got a consulting.
Right, they don't... Yeah, we're going to go into the back room here and get out the Kissinger Ouija board and try to contact him.
Yeah. What would Kissinger do?
Because Ouija boards
WKD.
contact demons, right? So it's demonic stuff. So yeah, that seems to me where he would be. He'd be winding up on the Ouija board. No American has killed the scale of Henry Kissinger. None. Yale University historian Greg Grandin, author of Kissinger's biography called Shadow, estimates that Kissinger alone, from 1969 through 1976, killed between 3 and 4 million people. One person who hated Henry Kissinger was Anthony Bourdain, Chef Anthony Bourdain. This clip is trending today because he saw Kissinger's destruction everywhere that he traveled. Watch.
Henry Kissinger walks into a bar. It sounds like a joke. Henry Kissinger and a penguin walk into a bar. I'm not asking what you do, but what would it displease you if I walked over and punched Henry Kissinger in the face? Would you find that entertaining? Would you have a frisson of pleasure even? Would you feel that justice is in some small way served?
You hate Henry
I fucking hate him. because in my travels, I stumble across his good works everywhere.
Right. Let's see this.
A rabbit punch.
No kidney punch.
Yeah.
Cheers, guys. Oh,
What does a penguin have to do in that?
I don't know. It's just pick anyone.
Oh,
It's
okay.
just shove in there, I guess. Anthony Bourdain once said this. He said, "Once you've been to Cambodia, you'll never stop wanting to beat Henry Kissinger to death with your bare hands." If you go to Cambodia and you see the wrath, the destruction of what he caused, of course you'd want to strangle him with your bare hands. So, yeah. Neocons falling all over themselves today. The ADL coming out, supporting and throwing their love behind Henry Kissinger. What a man he is, and what a statesman, what a diplomat. Just forget about all the 4 million people, 5 million people that he helped kill. Just look past that.
Well, funny enough that the ADL posted a tweet saying that Henry Kissinger was a proud Jew, and they were fact-checked by the community on Twitter or X, saying this is misleading because Henry Kissinger was, in fact, apologetic about his Jewish heritage, especially around Nixon and the White House counsel. They recall him saying bad things that I'm not going to say here about Jewish people. So, this is a very complicated legacy. It's interesting to see how people are using it to their advantage, to whatever narrative they want to bend.
You would think
this
that
time.
you would think that the ADL, which has been under massive amounts of scrutiny for their corruption, you think they would have sat this one out.
Yeah.
Maybe we don't need to put out a tweet about Henry Kissinger.
Right.
You just think about the
we should
thing.
be quiet about this one.
Yeah.
No, let's just put it out there.
Yeah, just tweet it. Let's post something about this war criminal. Let's do it. Let's show our support for him. And he won the Nobel Peace Prize because Republicans at the time pushed him towards that side to get a Nobel Peace Prize. It's like Obama getting a Peace Prize.
Right. Yeah.
Bombing
Drone happy
villages.
Obama.
Right. He gets a Peace Prize.
Barack Drone Obama.
how many deaths do you have to be responsible for? What is the cap? What's the maximum amount they'll allow for you to get the Nobel Peace Prize? Is it 2 million, 3 million? Where's the cut?
I would love to ask that question. If I ever had a chance to interview him, I would know my first question on the microphone. Hi, Mr. Kissinger. Thank you for joining us. Another question. How many people do you have to murder in order to get the Nobel Peace Prize?
Uh,
Oh, I can't ask
You
you now.
can't ask that now.
You can't ask me
Chances,
now.
the
ask that
chances.
Can't ask me
But
You okay?
all night.
Obama, he got it pre-murders, right?
No,
What are you doing?
no,
now. No, he got it.
absolutely he did
He
not.
got it concurrently.
No.
At the end of Vietnam War.
Yeah.
Obama.
No, I'm talking about Obama.
No. Obama got it
Right.
in the midst of the murders.
Yeah, in the midst of his bombing.
No.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. They looked the other way at all the people in the Middle East that Obama was waging wars on, and still gave him the Peace Prize.
Yeah.
That's a boring.
Hey, you're happy
So,
you didn't eat that meat
There you
pie.
go. That's redacted. We'd love to tell you about our Plus Club. Now, people have been asking, when are we launching the book club for our private Plus Club?
Thank you.
When is that going to happen? Do we have a date yet? I know the
Maybe
holidays are
we
crazy.
won't eat
Are
the
we
other
launching
ones.
it here during the holidays, post-holidays?
Maybe
When is the
recall?
book club launching on our Redacted Plus community? I saw a bunch of people asking about it last night. So, when will Natalie's book club? It's going to set the world on fire.
Is it?
It is, because we're going to be doing live streams. You can follow along and read the books that we're reading here on the show and comment and join the live stream. It'll be just for Redacted Plus members. And of course, we have the holidays, we have Thanksgiving and everything. So I know everything's kind of crazy right now with the holidays, but let's pin down a date and we will publish that in our community, our locals community. And we will also do exclusive live streams for the community that are not just the book club, but community live streams where we can get together and hang out. We had a great one a few weeks ago. It was great to hang out with the audience just for our community members and to get to know you guys better. We really appreciate it. Exclusive content and interviews. We have a really awesome interview with a former FBI whistleblower who's going to be released. This video will be released to our community first, and you will get access to it before anybody else if you're a member of our Plus Club. All you need to do is go to redacted.inc and just join our Plus Club. Click on the community button there. You get access to exclusive content for the price of a cup of coffee once a month. It's very, very cheap, and you can support independent journalism and support our team here at Redacted. Again, this show is totally free, so you don't have to pay anything to watch the show on Rumble, on YouTube, on X. But if you'd like to go above and beyond and get access to exclusive content and support us, head on over to redacted.inc.
thought we were going to be the, what do you call it? The fat part around the end? Or it's going to be plastic and it's going to be
And join our Plus Club. All right.
All right. Well, that'll do it for us this week. We'll have content for you over the weekend, and we will be back live on Monday, every Monday through Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern. Thanks for joining, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Uh-huh. Alright. No good boss. I don't know why you give me your hand upside down.
You know, they love to do this.
Fucking cheese on my face.
Survive that.
Bullshit.
Everybody.
Hey everyone, it's Dr. Romany. Welcome back to this YouTube channel. So
Hey, everybody.
let's talk a little bit about trust, and namely how much your sense of trust gets so messed up by these relationships. So here's the thing. When you're in a narcissistic relationship, your relationship with trust changes forever. But it happens in two different ways, and that's what I want to break down in this video. So did you feel, or do you feel, like you never trust anyone again after having gone through a narcissistic relationship? I'm guessing for most of you felt like, no, hell no, I'm never going to trust any of again. Now, I guess some of it relates to what happened in the relationship. You have to ask yourself, were you cheated on? Were you lied to? Did you get money
This house is very well lit.
grifted or scammed or future
Super well
faked or
lit.
repeatedly
just a-
gaslighted or manipulated?
Some things are stupid. Like, I'm gonna take that light bulb out and then plug the lamp in to the extension cord.
Not only are you
Because they just
betrayed,
like,
you're
I want my
so
outside lights on, but I don't want that
psychologically
inside
turned
light
upside
on. Like,
that everyone
but I like to
starts to
leave
feel like
dimmers.
a
We
con,
laugh
a
at
thief,
dimmers.
or a liar by the time you're out of that narcissistic relationship, whether they are or they're not. And this can also happen.
Bathroom.
from
That should have
childhood.
had a fucking dimmer on
If
it.
you had a narcissistic parent that repeatedly made broken promises or abandoned you, or always chose themselves, or all chose someone else, it's the same thing. You just feel like you can't trust people. If you got ripped off or scammed by a business partner or a colleague, same thing. You just don't feel like you can trust anyone. And the mistrust that comes out of being in a narcissistic relationship is different than other kinds of mistrust because it goes so deep in these relationships. Not only are you betrayed when you're in a narcissistic relationship, but you're also told that the betrayal is somehow your fault. So you stop trusting
Maybe if I
pretty
was
much
better
most
girlfriend,
people in the
apparently.
basic ways. You go into a relationship, you believe people from that point on are going to lie to you or do a bait and switch or break promises. And then you also stop trusting the decency of all human beings. You start to believe at some level that people are harmful and threatening and pull back from spending time with them. And that goes far deeper than just thinking that a new partner is going to cheat on you. So the lack of trust that comes out of a narcissistic relationship can generalize to all relationships. When people come out of narcissistic relationships, they will find that they cannot trust anyone. And I'm sure a lot of you had that experience. You don't trust the plumber, or you don't trust that your cousin who says you'll pick you up from the airport, or you don't trust that the package that you ordered will come in one piece. You just start losing trust in everything and everyone, and that is an incredibly exhausting way to live. But then there is the far more pernicious and awful loss of trust, a different kind of loss of trust. And this is to me is worse than not trusting other people. You stop trusting yourself. People who come out of narcissistic relationships or people who are still in them still wonder, was it me? Was there more that I could have done? Am I the one who's narcissistic? You might wonder if you're a decent human being. If you are all the things that the narcissistic people said that you are. Am I bad? Am I dumb? Am I lazy, incompetent?
Is this what I
mean?
deserve? Is what I
You know the laundry list of things you say about yourself, and you believe them. You stop trusting your judgment, especially if you've been in more than one narcissistic relationship, or if you've been a situation that other people saw kind of clearly as being toxic. You may think, ugh, I have no decision-making ability. I don't know how to pick them. I saw the signs and I didn't leave, or I went back. I can't trust myself.
Ma soeur Joanie, elle a 1 an et demi de plus que moi. Elle a la paralysie.
You don't trust yourself after years of being told by someone or multiple someones that you're wrong about everything. You may find yourself doubting where you put the keys, or if you pack the sunscreen, or if you put the letter in the mailbox. And you may waste lots of time in a life going back and double checking everything or asking for reassurance because you don't trust yourself. You don't trust that you remember things properly or that you did them the right way. You replay the relationship, the narcissistic relationship, and hell, even not narcissistic relationship. And you'll replay them and say, did I do the right thing? Did I say the right thing? Was I weird? And it all ends up being a double-teamed trust mess because you stop trusting other people and you stop trusting yourself. So it makes it feel impossible that you'd be able to get into new relationships, collaborate, build partnerships, or even rely on people to do small things for you. You doubt your judgment. You hold back. And listen, I get it. After enduring the mess or even the horrors of a narcissistic relationship, it's very easy to stop trusting your capacity to make a good decision or honor the signs, and to start viewing everyone as a threat or a harm or a grifter or someone who's on the make. It's easier to not trust than to take the risk of having to go through all of that again. But you are also wise enough to know that that's not a life to live like that, and that in order to have people in your life, you're going to have to make some leaps of faith. So what do you do when you're caught in this trust mess? Number one, as you figure out what narcissism is and go into new relationships, take your time. You remember my 12-month reminder when you get out of a old relationship before you get into a new one. You need time to learn to trust others, but you got to start with yourself first. And that means taking some time with yourself, learning to trust yourself again. It means starting small, making small decisions and seeing how they turn out, and then leveling up. But it takes time, and the destruction of trust that happens in a narcissistic relationship can take a long time to rebuild. Give it the time. Don't feel like you need to rush back into relationships and prove that you can trust people again and trust big. Move slowly. Second, practice trust with people you already know and kind of trust. I hope that each of you has at least one person in your life who has not fundamentally betrayed your trust. Practice experiencing trust with that person and listing them to help you and seeing that they do. Trusting your judgment about having this person in your life as well. Even this won't be easy, but start small here, just like you did with yourself. Third, don't overgeneralize, as hard as it is to do that, not do that. It's easy to overgeneralize from one instance back into this idea that all people are bad and threatening after your narcissistic relationship. And even after your narcissistic relationship, people will break your trust again, and you will make some bad choices. That's life. But one mistrustful thing that might happen with a person who's only done that once, or one breach of trust, doesn't mean that's how it always is everywhere. Learn from those things, take a look at what happened, and integrate that information. Maybe you won't trust that person again who breached your trust once. But don't leap right into this idea that this is everybody.
Yeah.
Number 4, learn from these breaches of trust that continue to happen. Like I said, it's not, you're never going to live in a world where everyone's going to do right by you. So let's say, for example, you relied on someone to do something and they didn't do it. Break it down.
Nous sommes solidaires. Nous soutenons les femmes qui expriment leur vérité et celles qui l'incarnent. Nous soutenons les femmes.
Where did it happen? Catch yourself if you blame yourself. But give a long critical look at what went wrong. Figure out what can be fixed and how you go back into trusting that person, if you do. Number 5, though, is recognize that your relationship with trust may have changed in a permanent way. It may be that you now trust differently. Maybe you just do hold a little more suspiciousness. Maybe you want to do some things on your own and aren't in such a big rush to collaborate, and you're more careful. And you know what? I'm not sure that that's always a bad thing for survivors. You may meet someone new if you're dating and move very tentatively. And if they complain or are concerned that you're too tentative, you can be honest with them that trust takes a minute for you. And if they push it or push back, heed that as the red flag that it is and step back. I can say personally, as a survivor of narcissistic relationships, trust is a real problem for me. I don't trust. And it probably means my career has been held back a little. I don't trust collaborators as a rule. That relationships are very difficult for me. And I have a very, very, very tight circle of friends and I don't go out of it. I'm also overly suspicious of new opportunities and I never answer a phone number I don't recognize. I know it's self-protective. There's been so much hurt, so many breaches of trust and so much disappointment I've had. And in some ways, realistic expectations that we need to navigate a narcissistic world can translate into not trusting every bright new thing that comes your way. And at some level, I have to accept that as who I am or who I've become, I guess, and what has happened to me. And instead of fighting it and trying to say, no, I'm going to be wide and open and accepting and trusting of everyone, in essence, going against my nature, I have learned, as many of my clients have learned, is that trust is a door that's ajar. It's not closed, shut, and locked, but it's also not cast wide open. Perhaps that trust door is open just enough so that you can peer out, check out the situation, feel the weather, get the facts, do your due diligence, be discerning, and then and only then you may crack the door open a little more each day. Will it ever be completely wide open?
It should be.
Probably not.
It should be.
But I'm confident that by being patient with yourself and taking the time you need, you can let in enough light through that door to slowly step into new situations and people, but tentatively and carefully, almost like a cat that's walking on an unfamiliar surface. Listen, my point of view is that if you survive the breach of trust, or breaches, many breaches of trust that have happened in your past narcissistic relationships, you've definitely learned one thing for sure. That even if it happens again, it would suck to have your trust betrayed by someone new again. It'll sting. It'll feel like breaking a leg in the same place twice. But you also learned that you did have what it took, that somehow you got to the other side. And yeah, maybe you'll open the door a little less next time, but resilience means that we do crack open that door. And even if it happens again and someone breaches your trust, you know that you've got what it takes, painful as it is, to get to the other side. And speaking of trust, I trust that you'll be interested in checking out my new book. Comes out next February. Would love for you to get it. It's available for pre-order now. Click the link in the video description.
Quick check from Capital One is very efficient. Capital One trusting me felt like a huge sigh of relief. It definitely meant a lot to me. It provides a lot of peace of mind as well.
So I always
It's like you can't just go full of nuclear bomb in your backyard. You know, that's against the law. And you'll get thrown in prison if you do that. This is, I think, maybe more dangerous than a nuclear bomb.
Really? How much of a concern is it if another country develops it before us?
I don't know if that we should just be concerned about AI being anti-human. That's the sort of the thing that matters. So potentially, I'm saying it's like a genie, letting a genie out of a bottle. You know, it's sort of like a magic genie that can make wishes come true. Except usually when they tell those stories, that doesn't end well for the person who let the genie out of the bottle.
Right. Do you think we're creating a life form?
Yeah, I mean, something that is indistinguishable from intelligence, an intelligent life form. So
I keep coming up against this idea. I keep banging it in my head that we're some sort of an electronic caterpillar that's creating a cocoon. And we don't even realize what we're doing. And we're about to give birth to some technological butterfly.
yeah,
What's going on?
yeah. Well, I think we're on the cusp of an artificial intelligence revolution.
Okay, let's burn everyone.
Oh yeah.
So everyone's running.
Oh. Okay.
Form.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that is indistinguishable from intelligence, an intelligent life form. So
I keep coming up against this idea. I keep banging it in my head. We're some sort of an electronic caterpillar that's creating a cocoon. And we don't even realize what we're doing. And we're about to give birth to some technological butterfly.
yeah.
Car ça, c'est assez plus phasé. C'est bien plus fort, ça peut aller jusqu'à 10 000 quelquefois. Et car ça commence à être compliqué. Parce que c'est un char.
Yeah, well, I think we're on the cusp of an artificial intelligence revolution. And, for the longest time, well, for a very long time, we've been the smartest creatures on Earth. That's been our defining characteristic. I mean, but so we're not stronger than a gorilla. We're not faster than other animals. We're smarter.
My foot.
Now, what happens when there's something way smarter than us?
I don't know the tweezers.
Where does it go?
Yeah, I've been somewhat with Cassandra for quite a while. Where people would, I would tell people like we should really be talking about AI. They'd be like, what are you talking about? Like, I've never really had any experience with AI. But since I was immersed in technology, I have been immersed in technology for a long time. I could see it coming. But I think this year there've been a number of breakthroughs. The point at which someone can see a dynamically created video of themselves, like so you can make a video of you saying anything in real time, or me. So there's sort of the deepfake videos, which are really incredibly good. In fact, sometimes more convincing than real ones. And deep real. And then obviously things like ChatGPT were quite remarkable. Now I saw GPT-1, GPT-2, GPT-3, GPT-4, the whole sort of lead up to that. So it was easy for me to kind of see where it's going. If you just sort of extrapolate the points in the curve and assume that trend will continue, then we will have profound artificial intelligence, and obviously at a level that far exceeds human intelligence. But I'm glad to see at this point that people are taking safety seriously, and I'd like to say thank you for holding this AI safety conference. I think actually we'll go down in history. It's really quite profound.
Oh! Give me his plate of food.
And I do think
Give me his
overall
plate
that
of
the
food.
potential is there for artificial intelligence AI to have most likely a positive effect. And
to create a future of abundance where there is no scarcity of goods and services. But it is somewhat of the magic genie problem, where if you have a magic genie that can grant all the wishes, usually those stories don't end well. Be careful what you wish for, including wishes.
Yeah.
There is some concern from people in Silicon Valley who've never dealt with regulators before, and they think that this is going to just crush innovation and slow them down and be annoying. But and it will be annoying. It's true. They're not wrong about that. But I think we've learned over the years that having a referee is a good thing. And if you look at any sports game, there's always a referee. And nobody's suggesting to have a sports game without one. And I think that's the right way to think about this, is for government to be a referee to make sure the sportsmanlike conduct and that the public safety is, is stressed, that we care about public safety. Because I think there might be at times too much optimism about technology. And I say that as a technologist. I mean, so I ought to know. And like that, on balance, I think that AI will be a force for good, most likely, but the probability of it going bad is not 0%. So we just need to mitigate the downside potential. Really, anything that can be actuated by a computer is effectively a robot. So you can think of, frankly, Tesla cars are robots on wheels. Anything that's connected to the internet is effectively an endpoint actuator for artificial intelligence. And I do think there is a safety concern, especially with humanoid robots, because at least the car can't chase you into this building very easily, or chase you up a tree, or you can sort of run up a flight of stairs and get away from a Tesla. I think there's a Stephen King movie about that. If your car gets possessed. But if you have a humanoid robot, it can basically chase you anywhere. So I think we should have some kind of hardwired local cutoff that you can't update from the internet. So anything that can be software updated from the internet obviously can be overridden. But if you have a local sort of off switch where you could perhaps say a keyword or something, and then that puts the robot into a safe state. Some kind of localized safe state ability, an off switch, where you don't have to get too close to the robot. I don't know. So if you've got millions of these things going all over the place,
You're not selling it. Just
no, I know. I'm saying this is something we should be quite concerned about, because the robot can follow you anywhere. Then, what if they just one day get a software update and they're not so friendly anymore? Then we've got a James Cameron movie on it.
What would your observation be on AI and the impact on labour markets and people's jobs, and how they should feel about that as they think about this?
Well, I think we are seeing the most disruptive force in history here. We have for the first time, we will have for the first time something that is smarter than the smartest human. And that, I mean, it's hard to say exactly what that moment is, but there will come a point where no job is needed. You can have a job if you want to have a job for sort of personal satisfaction, but the AI will be able to do everything. So I don't know if that makes people comfortable or uncomfortable. That's why I say if you wish for a magic genie, that gives you any wishes you want, and there's no limit. You don't have those three wish limits. Nonsense. You just have many wishes as you want. It's both good and bad. One of the challenges in the future will be, how do we find meaning in life? If you have a magic genie that can do everything you want, I do think it's hard. When there's new technology, it tends to have usually follow an S curve. In this case, we're going to be on the exponential portion of the S curve for a long time, and we have to ask for anything. And it won't be, and we won't have universal basic income. We'll have universal high income. So in some sense, it'll be somewhat of a level up, or an equalizer, because really, I think everyone will have access to this magic genie. And if you have to ask any question, it'll certainly be good for education. It'll be the best tutor you could, and the most patient tutor. Sit there all day. There will be no shortage of goods and services. It will be an age of abundance.
I'm somebody who believes work gives you meaning. I think a lot about that is as I think work is a good thing. It gives people purpose in their lives, and if you then remove a large chunk of that, what does that mean, and where do you get that?
Yeah.
Where do you get that drive, that motivation, that purpose? And you were talking about it. You work a lot of hours.
I do. As I was mentioning when we were talking earlier, I have to somewhat engage in deliberate suspension of disbelief because I'm putting so much blood, sweat, and tears into a work project and burning the 3 a.m. oil. Then I'm like, wait, why am I doing this? I just wait for the AI to do it.
Oh, fuck yeah.
I'm just lashing myself for no reason.
On fire and put on the building.
It's like punishment.
Okay.
So we call them to hurry up, and then you can have a holiday. Yeah, no, it's a tricky thing because I think part of our job is to make sure that we can navigate to that very, I think, largely positive place that you're describing,
It is, I think,
and help
largely
help people through it between now and then, because these things bring a lot of that change in the labour market, as we've seen.
Yeah, I think it probably is generally a good thing because there are a lot of jobs that are uncomfortable or dangerous or sort of tedious, and the computer will have no problem doing that. They're happy to do that all day long. So it's fun to cook food, but it's not that fun to wash dishes. Like the computer's perfectly happy to wash dishes. And I guess there is, we still have where humans compete in like the Olympics, and obviously a machine can go faster than any human. We still humans race against each other.
I hate listening to you speak.
Planes, déguster la vie.
U.S. authorities have laid charges in an alleged plot to kill a Sikh activist on American soil. Unsealed documents from the case also reveal new details about the killing of Hardeep Singh Nijjar in British Columbia.
India needs to take this seriously. The Indian government needs to work with us to ensure that we're getting to the bottom of this.
U.S. authorities charged Nick Gupta, an Indian national, in an alleged murder-for-hire plot. The target was believed to be Gurpatwant Singh Panu, a dual U.S.-Canadian citizen. The unsealed documents also say that the day after Nijjar was killed, Gupta said, quote, "We have so many targets in Canada." With me now to discuss and share his thoughts is Tom Mulcair, CTV's political commentator and the former leader of MP. Good morning, Tom. Good to see you, as always.
Yeah.
So the U.S. is alleging multiple Indian assassination plots across North America, really supporting what the Prime Minister has previously said. What do you make of where we are now?
It's been a long haul since Mr. Trudeau stood up on the first day of Parliament and said he had credible evidence about Indian involvement in the assassination of a Canadian on Canadian soil, which was so brave. Everyone went into a tizzy in India, denying it full-throatedly, and what we had yesterday was essentially confirmation that there was something seriously amiss here. I congratulate Trudeau on his tone, by the way. It must have been so tempting to go full, "I told you so," because he's been pushed back quite hard for not having been able to come up with concrete evidence. But the Americans have provided the closest we're going to get, certainly, and his request that the Indian government start taking this seriously, very statesmanlike, because we want to maintain good relationships with India, where they're important partners for us, part of our worldwide strategy. The Indo-Pacific is super important, and you can't have Indo-Pacific if you're not talking to India. So I think that some of the pushback that we saw, the shutting down of passports and visas and all the stuff that we got back from India in a huff about this, I think it's going to start to play down, because clearly the Americans
It had absolutely nothing to do with the fact that Trudeau's fucking
Where
played
does
that
this
cocaine
leave
on it.
Canada's relationship with India?
It's going to require a little bit of patience and a little bit of time. Modi's not going to be there forever, and there will be other leaders in India. And I think it's important that we understand as well that this idea and the role of diaspora politics, we saw it in the case of alleged Chinese government interference in Canadian elections. It plays out with so many other communities, Marcia. So we've got to get a handle on that. In fact, the work that's being done right now by Madame Justice Ho on this question of Chinese government interference is an opportunity to drill down a little bit on diaspora politics, because like many other Canadian politicians, I got to know and appreciate the Sikh community, how important they are in our country, how large they are, and what
Why isn't the leader of the
And
NDP
at the
currently
same time,
speaking? Is my
people in
question.
the
Why
Indian
isn't the
government are
previous
saying
leader?
that, they're pushing for an independent homeland in India. Some of them are using tactics that we consider illegal. You should be aware of that. So that conversation's got to take place at the same time. It's not just one-sided, but when you're in politics and you're being introduced to one group as opposed to another, sometimes it's easy to fall into that. Not just here, but there are literally dozens of other cases where, because we're such an open and welcoming country, we have people who have so many different backgrounds, we become familiar with one side or the other. And I think that we've got to all learn as politicians and people who are responsible in Canada, take one step back and say, okay, where am I on this? And does this really have to do with my role in Canadian politics, or am I playing into community politics that I should perhaps be given a wider berth?
So do you think India will change its tone and the way it responds now that both the US and Canada are making these allegations?
They've already started. They know that the jig is up. Playing the victim and getting into a state of high dudgeon. Oh my gosh, I can't believe you said that about us. We would never do that. That's going to start to wear pretty thin pretty fast. That's why I really like the way Trudeau did this, because it's like, look, I told you. But he's not quite saying that. And he's being softer about it and saying, okay, now I want to work with Indians. They have to start taking this seriously. And they've already given indications that they are. It's a very tough situation, because this would involve being able to identify the people who had been retained to kill a Canadian on Canadian soil. It's very delicate. But I do think that we have to get to the bottom of it if we want to be able to repair that relationship in the future.
Tom, do you have any questions about Canada's intelligence or security? After Nijar was killed, the plot was foiled in the US, but we saw a man killed on Canadian soil.
Yes, and I do know, because we get to talk to people at the highest level, and I did get a chance to debrief at the highest level. So, okay, what do you actually know? And the answer was, we know who did it, and we think they might still be in Canada. I don't know if that's still the case, but they were doing everything they could to identify them. Maybe now that we're going to be talking in a different tone with India, they'll be able to help us back.
Tom Mulcair, he is CTV's political commentator and the former leader of the NDP. Thanks so much, Tom.
Why are we hearing the former leader and not the leader of the NDP?
Good morning and welcome to Rising. I am Brianna Joy Gray, and I have the very special treat of being joined this Thursday by Amber Duke here at the desk. Welcome back, Amber.
Thanks. It's good to be back with you.
I love this duo. We missed Robbie, but we're going to have a little bit of fun today.
It's Girls' Day. We got the blazers on. We're ready to go.
Love it.
Oh, it's the black chick?
Elon Musk spoke at yesterday's New York Times Deal Book Summit, where he had this explosive message for advertisers pulling out of X.
Apology tour, if you will. This had been said online. There was all of the criticism. There was advertisers leaving. We talked to Bob Iger today.
Stop.
You
Don't advertise.
You don't want them to advertise?
No.
What do you mean?
What do you mean? What do you mean?
If somebody's going to try to blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with money, ask yourself.
But
go yourself. Is that clear? I hope it is. Hey, Bob, if you're in the audience.
Well, let me ask you then.
They bleeped
That's how I feel.
the laughing this morning.
Now, Musk's outburst led NBC News senior reporter Ben Collins to express concerns for his health. He wrote on X, quote, actually watching this all the way through, and it's kind of disturbing. Something is clearly going on with this guy. Others cheered on the tech entrepreneur.
Yeah, I was gonna say this morning they
This
fucking
is
they
exactly
didn't have
what
that.
people should tell
This
corporate
morning,
advertisers who try to
it
control the
wasn't- it was
content of
leaked,
speech
the
from media
laughing.
outlets or social media platforms.
Oh,
Sadly,
I still
virtually
keep
all
laughing.
media corporations and their journalist employees are far too cowardly to do it. Instead, they comply. And ex-CEO Linda Yaccarino took to the platform to do damage control, tweeting, Musk also offered an apology, an explanation, and an explicit point of view about our position. X is enabling an information independence that's uncomfortable for some people, or a platform that allows people to make their own decisions. Whew. Okay, so what do you make of this? Do you think that it's kind of a good faith argument that Elon Musk is saying, I don't really care about the advertisers, I'm doing this for a bigger principle, when he is simultaneously suing or threatening to sue the ADL for allegedly misrepresenting the level of hate on the platform in a move that drove advertisers away. In his telling, he's suing them because they caused him to lose advertisers. Can you simultaneously care that he doesn't care if advertisers go away?
I think yes, because I mean, fundamentally what he's saying is that he doesn't want his speech to be controlled by advertisers. And so I think you can simultaneously say that there are bad faith actors in the media who are intentionally either manipulating what Elon has said or manipulating the algorithm to get certain results and then writing media stories about it, while also saying if media companies or if corporations fall for that and then change their advertising decisions based on these manipulated media stories, then I don't want their business. I'm not going to respond to media blackmail and corporate blackmail to change the way I operate on the platform. I don't think those things are mutually exclusive.
So he goes on to say that there's more questioning. And he's asked, well, what do you think is going to happen? Are you willing to lose all the money on Twitter? Will you keep Twitter open even if it's at a loss? He doesn't answer that question really squarely, as I recall it, but then goes on to say, in response to a question about whether he would expect people to then boycott Disney or whatever other outlets no longer want to advertise on Twitter, he would say yes. So he seems to think that people are going to vote with their dollars, that companies that are unwilling to advertise on Twitter will get backlash elsewhere, the way that some people have boycotted Disney or something like Bud Light or the like. And the interviewer was a little bit incredulous about that, as am I. Now, if he wants to say, this is a app that I bought for the purpose of being a free speech platform, I don't care about the profit, I don't care that I've already lost half of the $44 billion worth of value because of the advertisers fleeing, I think that he can do that. But he didn't exactly say that. He didn't answer the question square on, are you willing just to do this for the public good at great cost to yourself? And he basically said, if Twitter has to shut down, it'll be the public to blame. It'll be those companies that no longer advertise on my platform to blame, and no one should blame me. I'm not sure that that is in the interest of free speech if it ultimately means that Twitter, which I think is a worthwhile platform, ultimately shuts down.
Yeah, and I've always had questions about the way some of his operations have lent themselves to his supposed goal of promoting free speech and having this open platform. There's still a lot of shadow banning on Twitter, for example. There's still a lot of algorithmic suppression of certain accounts. But that being said, I think he believes that the corporations are going to come back. And I think he believes the advertisements are going to come back. And those lawsuits are probably in pursuit of that goal as well. But does it also maybe prove his point if these corporate advertisers are so willing to go along with whatever the popular media narrative is against X, against Musk, to ultimately shut down the platform? Maybe he really does believe that the public would be on his side in that debate. I'm not sure that that's totally true, but I think it is worth, mentioning as well that the Media Matters article that came out that sparked a lot of these advertisers to pull out from X was deeply bad faith, which most of the things they do are. They had, according to Twitter, supposedly intentionally followed only anti-Semitic and Nazi promoting accounts and then just refreshed their page repeatedly thousands and thousands of times until they finally got a corporate advertisement next to it and then took screenshots. And
yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
But I also think that the bigger criticism of Elon Musk that I would make on this front is that he has been inconsistent with
Duck. Oh!
Okay, Crystal, it's been a long time since I said this. What are you taking a look at?
It's hard to look at what he's doing in Ukraine, what his forces are doing in Ukraine, and think that any ethical, moral individual could justify that. It's difficult to look at the
Oh my God.
sorry. It's difficult to look at some of the images and imagine that any well-thinking, serious, mature leader would do that. So I can't talk to his psychology, but I think we can all speak to his depravity. This is war. It is combat. It is bloody, it is ugly, and it's going to be messy. And innocent civilians are going to be hurt going forward. I wish I could tell you something different. I wish that that wasn't going to happen, but it is going to happen.
That was National Security Council spokesman John Kirby holding back tears as he spoke
give
of
me a
innocents
fucking
killed
break.
by Russia, and then casually dismissing innocents killed by Israel as mere collateral damage, chalking out to the unavoidable costs of war. The Biden administration has spent the last several years now rending their garments about the international